Hello, it's Monday, August the 2nd, and just as last week we were camped out in chapter 46 of Isaiah, this week we're going to be camping out, as it were, in chapter 47 of Isaiah, and 46, 47, and 48, three chapters where the prophet is really speaking of the decline and fall of the Babylonian Empire. And the ushering in of the Persian Empire under the rule of the Persian king Cyrus. Now, here in chapter 47, we have a reference to the daughter of Babylon, and the daughter of Babylon is a euphemism for the city of Babylon, so the daughter of Babylon is Babylon. But as you begin to read in the opening few verses 1 to 4, you'll see that this daughter of Babylon is pampered and spoiled and self-indulgent and used to getting her own way. Babylon, as most empires did, whether we're talking here of the Egyptian Empire, or we're talking about the Babylonian Empire, or the Assyrian Empire before it, or the Persian Empire, or the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, and so on. All of them in their heyday thought that they were invincible and impregnable. And the truth is that these massive world-changing cultures eventually implode upon themselves. They are overrun. In this case, Babylon will be overrun by Cyrus the Persian, and her future is shocking. Her future is one of exile and slavery and death. And in verse 3, your nakedness shall be uncovered and your disgrace shall be seen. I will take vengeance. And perhaps you are uncomfortable with the idea of the vengeance of God. Sometimes when we speak of vengeance in our time, we think of vengeance as something that is uncontrolled, an overreaction of spiteful emotions and so on. But vengeance here is the result of God's holiness. He is so holy that sin has to be punished one way or another. It cannot go unpunished. And so when we think of the atonement, when we ask the question, why did Jesus have to die? The answer is the vengeance of God. The law, in the language of the Westminster Confession of Faith in chapter 8, for example, Jesus died to satisfy the demands of divine justice. Unrepented sin will be punished one way or another. And what happened to Babylon and what happened to the emperors of Babylon was God exacting his justice, his vengeance upon his enemies. Vengeance is mine, I will repay. All of us deep down want to believe that when injustice is done to us, we want that justice. We want that justice to be done and seen to be done before we can retreat, as it were, to a place of calm repose. It's important that we live and that we are convinced that we live in a world where there is ultimately justice. Well, vengeance in verse 3. I will take vengeance and I will spare no one. Beware of the holiness of God apart from redemption. Well, there is redemption. It's the next verse, verse 4, but we'll come to that tomorrow. In the meantime, Have a wonderful day.